All right, get ready, because today we're going deep on something that I think is going to change how we think about research.
Oh, yeah.
It's about something that seems pretty simple on the surface, pseudonyms.
Great.
Like those fake names that we always use in qualitative research to protect people's privacy. But the thing is, this paper that we're diving into argues that letting research participants choose their own pseudonyms can actually make the research better.
Way better.
Like, way better.
It really flips the script on traditional methods.
Yeah.
The paper's called What's in a Name? Participants' Pseudonym Choices as a Practice of Empowerment and Epistemic Justice.
Catchy.
Yeah, by Pretorius and Patel. And it really dives deep into this idea.
So it's not just about, like, keeping people anonymous, right?
Right.
There's this whole idea of epistemic justice that comes into play.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Yeah, so it's all about fairness in knowledge creation, making sure everyone's experiences and perspectives are valued equally. Like, think of it like this.
Yeah.
You're in a research study, but you don't even get to choose what you're called.
Oh, wow.
You know, it kind of reinforces that power imbalance between the researcher and the participant.
Yeah, for sure. So by giving participants that choice, we're kind of acknowledging them as partners in the research.
Exactly.
Not just subjects.
Yeah, it shifts the dynamic.
Yeah.
And it can really lead to more authentic data.
For sure. For sure.
So in Pretorius and Patel's study, they had 40 participants.
Okay.
Mostly doctoral students in Australia share their experiences. But the really cool thing is they got to choose their own pseudonyms, not just for themselves, but for their universities, too.
Wait, they got to name their institutions?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm already hooked.
I know. It's so interesting.
So what kind of names came up?
Well, the range is incredible.
Yeah.
Some were positive, like University of Dreams,
Oh.
while others reflected their struggles, things like Struggle Street or University of Poor Communication. It really gives you a glimpse into their perception of these institutions.
That's so insightful.
It is.
Like, you can kind of get a shortcut to understanding their whole experience just from the name.
Yeah.
But let's back up for a second.
Okay.
When they were choosing their own personal pseudonyms,
Yeah.
what were some of the themes that emerged there?
Oh, a lot of them chose names with really deep personal meaning. Like one participant, Frida, she chose Frida after the painter Frida Kahlo.
Oh,
I think she really admired her strength.
I love that. Choosing a name that embodies that resilience.
Yeah.
Did other people kind of follow that path of finding inspiration in someone they admired?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another participant, Anastasia, she chose a name that means resurrection.
Wow.
And she connected that to overcoming challenges in her own life. And then there's Andrea, who went with her middle name that she rarely uses.
Okay.
Because it represented, kind of hidden aspects of herself.
That's really interesting. And I'm curious about the participant who chose confused.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah.
And brave to kind of put that out there.
It is. It's such a powerful example of how this whole pseudonym choice allows participants to own their narrative, even when it's messy or uncertain.
It really makes you think, what name would you choose?
Right.
And what would that say about your own journey?
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It prompts reflection, not just for the participants, but for anyone engaging with the research.
Okay, I need to hear more about these institutional pseudonyms.
Okay.
Did any choices particularly jump out at you?
One that really struck me was the University of Dreams.
Okay.
2 different participants chose that name.
Oh, wow.
But for totally different reasons.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. The same name, but totally different meanings.
What were their stories?
Well, one participant, Tabinda, she was a newer student, full of admiration for the institution. University of Dreams was pure excitement for her.
Yeah.
But then Amelie, the other participant, she had a more nuanced view.
So it wasn't all straightforward for her.
Not at all.
Yeah.
She explained that at first, the university was her dream.
Okay.
But over time, her experiences with racism changed how she saw it.
Wow.
So her University of Dreams had this layer of disillusionment to it.
That's so powerful.
It is.
It shows how much depth you get when participants have control over their representation.
And it's where that link to epistemic justice becomes really clear. By letting participants choose their names, we're allowing for those nuances and complexities to come through and creating this richer and more accurate portrayal of their experiences.
It's not just about protecting anonymity.
Right.
It's about valuing their knowledge and their perspectives.
Exactly.
Okay, this is making me think about how much we control the narratives of our own lives.
I know.
But before we get too philosophical,
Okay.
Pretorius and Patel actually created these fascinating holistic stories
Yeah.
by weaving together all this data.
They did, and they really illustrate the impact of this whole approach.
Can you give us a little sneak peek into a couple of those stories?
Yeah.
I'm just dying to hear how they all come together.
Okay, let's start with Cassandra.
Okay.
She chose University of Poor Communication.
Okay.
And her story's all about feeling lost and frustrated with all the bureaucracy.
Right.
Imagine, spending hours trying to get simple answers,
Oh.
hitting roadblocks at every turn.
It sounds incredibly disheartening.
Yeah.
Especially when you're already juggling all the demands of being a student.
Right. Her story really highlights the importance of clear communication and support, particularly for students who might not be on campus as much.
It makes you wonder how many talented people are out there struggling silently.
Yeah.
Because of those kinds of systemic issues.
Exactly.
Okay, what about chess? Their story at Struggle Street sounds particularly challenging.
It is. Chess's narrative really showcases the power of this approach. They shared the challenges of being a disabled student with disabled children, and they faced constant barriers within that academic system.
Oh, wow.
So that name they chose, Struggle Street, becomes this lens through which we understand their whole experience.
It highlights how much the personal and the academic are intertwined.
Yeah.
And how institutions need to do a better job supporting students with diverse needs.
Right. It really underscores that idea of intersectionality, how different aspects of a person's identity can create these compounded challenges.
Yeah.
And by letting chess choose their own pseudonym, the researchers were able to capture the full weight of their experience.
It makes you realize how much richer these stories become when participants have control over how they're represented.
It's not just data points. It's about understanding their journeys.
Exactly. And that's what makes this research so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about pseudonyms.
Right.
It's about rethinking research, how we value the people who participate in it, and how we ensure that everyone's voices are heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored some really compelling stories
Yeah.
that highlight the power of participant-chosen pseudonyms. But are there any, potential limitations to this approach?
Well, they did.
Yep.
Pretorius and Patel did acknowledge some challenges.
Okay, like what?
Well, one concern is the cognitive burden it places on participants.
Yeah.
Asking them to choose these names, especially for themselves in their institutions,
Right.
it requires a lot of reflection.
It does.
Not everyone might be comfortable with that level of, introspection.
That's true. It's not just a fun little exercise. It can
Right.
be a pretty intense process
Yeah.
of self-examination.
Yeah, and you also have to think about the potential for misinterpretation. What if someone chooses a name that's, unintentionally offensive or confusing?
Right.
That's why open communication between the researchers and participants is so crucial.
For sure.
It's about checking in, clarifying intentions,
Yeah.
making sure that those chosen names are presented in a way
Right.
that aligns with the participants' desired representation.
So it's about striking a balance
Exactly.
between giving participants that agency
Yeah.
and making sure that the research process is still ethical
Right.
and rigorous.
And we have to acknowledge that even with that freedom to choose, some participants might still feel pressure to self-censor,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
to avoid choosing names that are too controversial or might be perceived negatively.
Those societal pressures don't just disappear because you're part of a research study.
Exactly.
So how can researchers create that environment where participants feel truly free to express themselves authentically?
It's about building trust and rapport.
Okay.
Creating that safe space where they feel comfortable sharing their perspectives, even the ones that might, challenge conventional thinking.
Right. And it's important to remember that Pretorius and Patel's study was focused on doctoral students.
Right.
So their experiences and understanding of research might be quite different from the general population.
That's a really valid point.
Yeah?
Their findings might not be directly generalizable to other contexts.
Right.
But that doesn't mean their work isn't important.
Right.
It opens up this whole new way of thinking about research.
Yeah.
And challenges us to question our assumptions.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
A catalyst for more exploration into how this approach might work with different groups
Right.
and in different settings.
And it's a reminder that research is an evolving process.
Yeah.
We need to be open to feedback, constantly refining our methods.
For sure.
And always prioritizing the well-being and empowerment of people who participate in our studies.
This has been such a fascinating look
It has.
at the potential of participant-chosen pseudonyms. But I think it's time to zoom out a bit and consider the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are the broader implications of Pretorius and Patel's findings? What does this mean for the future of research?
Yeah.
And maybe even beyond that. You know, it's funny, this whole conversation about pseudonyms in research, it's making me think about how we use names and labels in our everyday lives, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, we all present different versions of ourselves depending on the situation, right?
Absolutely.
Like, how you are with your family is probably different from how you are at work.
Totally.
It's like we're constantly choosing which parts of ourselves to emphasize, like which names or labels we want to use.
And some of those choices are really deliberate.
Oh, for sure.
And others are almost unconscious.
Yeah. And the names and labels we use have a real impact on how people see us, too.
Absolutely.
Like, think about the power of a nickname.
Right.
It can be like a term of endearment, or it can be used to put someone down.
Exactly. Like, names have this hidden power to shape our perceptions, both of ourselves and others.
And it's like in the research world, right?
Yeah.
Those names can be empowering or disempowering, depending on who's choosing them and how they're being used.
Yeah. Pretorius and Patel's work really highlights those dynamics.
It does.
It encourages us to be more mindful of the language we use and to recognize the impact it can have on others.
This whole conversation has really opened my eyes to the complexity of something as seemingly simple as naming.
Right.
It's so much more than just assigning a word to a person or thing.
It is.
It's intertwined with identity, power, justice.
And it's a reminder that even small changes in our language can have this ripple effect.
Right.
By being more mindful of the names and labels we use, we can create a more inclusive and respectful world for everyone.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into the power of names and the importance of epistemic justice.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.